Welcome to Trading the Close on this last Tuesday of 2023. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing. Here's what's making headlines today. A national gauge of home prices in 20 of the largest cities in the U.S. shows they reached record highs in October. U.S. retail sales are also up 3.1% between November 1st and December 24th, according to a report from MasterCard. Intel announces plans to build a $25 billion chip-making factory in Israel. Now, the tech giant already employs nearly 12,000 people in the country. The plant is due to open in 2028. Well, stocks started the day off in the green, and the S&P has been inching toward record territory. So let's take a look at where things stand right now, just minutes before the close. All green across the board. Even the Russell up 29, the NASDAQ up 77, Dow up 149 points, and the S&P up 18 points. Not quite yet at that record high. Chief Market Strategist and Master Trader Gareth 𝗡cie𝗿𝗩𝗡 joins me now, back from vacation. Yep. You feeling refreshed, my friend?
I am. Thank you. It's so good to be back. I go on vacation, but then right away I have regret. I'm like, I just want to get back to the markets and talking about it.
I know, you're just chomping at the bit.
Yeah,
and you kept us informed on vacation. Your wife is obviously cool with it. She's probably used to this.
Yep.
So this is the last week of 2023. What are you seeing with the markets right now?
So right now the volume remains so quiet, especially today being the day after a 3-day weekend with Christmas being yesterday. And so what we've really seen, and this is your intraday chart, right? So if you look at your intraday, you can see that it was a gentle float up a majority of the day here, just slow and steady. We had this kind of little buy program that hit, and now we're seeing a little bit of a sell program at the end of the day. I think that's just jockeying into the end of the year. But overall, it's not really a whole lot of action going on in the markets. And the volume, again, one of the lightest days in the entire year today, which is not super unusual just because of the holiday. And in all fairness, the next couple days, unless we get some shocking news, it's probably going to be like that. But let's just quickly take a look. I want to show you guys a couple little things. So on the S&P 500 here, and this is the spiders chart, you can see that we continue to bubble up against this little trend line right here. And if I zoom out, the reason why that trend line is important, it goes back a really long way. In fact, it goes back to the pivot high just before the COVID collapse. So right over here, right? So there to this pivot, and that was that kind of V-shaped dip. And then all the way through these levels here, and we're right up against it. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is with light volume, they could push it through this level. It's not that hard to do, but you do have the all-time high just above it here, which will also work, and that trend line is just a slight amount above. So really, as we come into year end here, this is a big level. You have one level on top of the other that is going to be resistance. The question is, can the markets get through it into year end or maybe early in January?
Okay, so what are you thinking is happening? Could it reach that high by the end of the year? And then what's happening after? You're looking for the resistance, and how soon would that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, as a technician, and again, I'm a probability guy, that's what trading is about, technical trading, is that when you look at a market that has gone up, I think the S&P is up 16% from the late October lows. That's very unusual. If you look at all the data points, that's probably one of the rarer scenarios where we've gained so much in such a short time. So just by probabilities, you do say, okay, we're due for a pullback, and then you start connecting the dots literally here, and you say, okay, we're due for a pullback and we're into this resistance. And again, while it's not likely we'll sell off significantly before year end, and one of the reasons for that is the fact that people probably don't want to sell because they have to pay taxes, right? But come January 2nd, when we're back at work here, all of a sudden, new year, I could see people wanting to say, hey, listen, let me take some profits. We know the markets are extended. I don't have to pay my taxes now for another year on this. So let's do that. So I'm kind of looking for a January pullback of sorts. Now the question is, how big of a pullback will it be? And that's what we'll find out in January.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about some of the big market movers today. Intel, NIO, they unveiled a new car. Manchester United, there's no more uncertainty with ownership. Which ones have you been watching closely today? They were all up, by the way.
They were. And one of the ones I've been talking about here a little bit today is Intel. Now, Intel, we did a day trade in the live trading room today. We actually did a short on it. We made some money, but you could see this thing continues to go parabolic. An amazing move. The whole semi sector has just been hot this whole entire year, AI being the key driving force, but also the fact that people are now saying, hey, listen, maybe we're going to have a soft landing, maybe no landing at all, and then that's even better for the chips. I think it's getting a little overdone here, but if we look at the chart of Intel, we can start to see some technical levels over here coming into play, right? You have this area right over here, and a lot of these levels, and my lines are not very good here, but you're starting to see some levels of resistance coming into play. So I would look for some sort of retrace. What you can see here on the chart is you went up, you pulled back and broke out. Usually there'll be a check back to that kind of level. So I would say a pullback on Intel to about a $45 level would just be reasonable for your run of the mill. And that's assuming that we don't start to get more negative economic data that could be like recessionary in January of 2024. Other than that, I think just a couple other charts worth noting today as the markets are coming into the close. If we look at Apple, Apple's actually down a little bit. I think Apple, if I read it correctly, their watches, they had to stop selling their watches
9,
because of a patent issue or something like that.
So we're seeing the impact here.
While the rest of the market floats up, Apple's actually, and what's so cool about this, and this is what gets me all giddy with trading, is that notice the pullback came right at double top, which is technically a resistance level, right?
Yeah.
Kind of pierced it and then pull back. Now, again, if they get through this, then it could maybe have a breakout to the upside. We'll have to see. But again, just a little bit of weakness in Apple. A lot of the big cap techs are a little weaker today or flattish versus the Russell. Again, we're seeing Russell stocks, which are the smaller stocks. They're leading the charge, and that would be like a Manchester and some of these other ones out there.
Okay, so I always watch the game plan, of course, and in your 2024 forecast for Bitcoin, you believe it will move up, of course, on the news of an ETF approval, but you say be careful, it will be quick. What do you mean by that exactly? Do you mean short-lived?
Yeah, so one of the issues here is, and this is making me even more intrigued, and let me go to this chart real quick of Bitcoin, because really, this actually surprising me a little bit today. This is a trend line that goes all the way back to when we were trading at really around 25 to 26,000. You can see it connects right through this low here, right through these lows, these lows, these lows, and so on and so forth. We actually broke below that today. So I still think when the ETF gets approved, you'll get this initial like algo buying program. People will just throw in money kind of without asking questions.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would just say is that I have not met anyone interested in crypto that hasn't gone long Bitcoin at this point because of this. So everyone's front loaded this, which makes it very tough. Like, where's the new money? And you could say, okay, well, BlackRock will have to put in money for the ETF and so forth. But like, BlackRock doesn't work that way. They've already figured out maneuvers to do this where they're not going to be paying up here for Bitcoin, right? I mean, they've figured it out, whether it's in the options market, whether it's with the miners themselves. They probably have a price locked in to buy down here to make extra money. And so again, it puts us in a position where we could actually see an initial pop to the upside, maybe up. I have a max target of like 48 to 50,000. But then I think it could reverse, and I actually think we'll go test 38, and eventually we'll test 30 is really the big level that I'm looking for in 2024 to retest.
Okay, and throughout the rest of the week, we will be talking about more of your forecasts for 2024. Only a few days left. Gareth, thank you so much. Great to have you back. And you can catch Gareth navigate the charts live every morning on his show, The Game Plan, right here on the Verified Investing YouTube channel. That does it for Trading the Close on this Tuesday. I'm Toni Valliere. Thank you so much for joining us. Make it a great rest of the day.